Liberia, a West African nation founded by the American Colonization Society, ACS, in 1822, adopted a government model inspired by the United States. However, unlike its model, Liberia became a one-party state under the true Whig Party. For decades, the country endured authoritarian rule under descendants of freed slaves, notably Presidents William Tubman, 1944 to 1971, and William Tolbert, 1971 to 1980. Samuel Doe, a master sergeant in the Liberian army, led a violent coup on April 12, 1980, overthrowing President William Tolbert and ending 133 years of Americo-Liberian rule by the true Whig Party. Doe's takeover marked a significant shift, as he was Liberia's first non-Americo-Liberian leader. Following the coup, Doe's forces killed 26 of Tolbert's supporters, and 13 former government officials were publicly executed by firing squad on charges of corruption and treason. The victims were predominantly descendants of freed slaves, known as Americo-Liberians, who had historically dominated Liberia's politics. Doe's rule was characterized by authoritarianism, corruption, and favoritism towards his ethnic Kron group, leading to growing opposition. His government was also marked by human rights abuses, including mass executions, torture, and forced disappearances. In December 1989, Charles Taylor, a descendant also of freed slaves and his National Patriotic Front of Liberia, NPFL, launched a rebellion against Doe's government. Taylor, backed by Libya and Côte d'Ivoire, sought to overthrow Doe and establish a new government. The conflict escalated into ethnic violence, with the NPFL targeting Doe's Kron ethnic group. Ethnic cleansing, estimated 250,000 deaths, over 1 million displaced persons. Widespread destruction of infrastructure. Child soldiers and sexual violence were prevalent. Can you imagine being torn away from your family as a teenager, facing your first ever separation, and then escaping from home under the cover of darkness? Well, that was exactly my predicament when the rebel war reached the capital of Monrovia. My name is Wulu Gay, and I'm 17 today, July 28, 1990. Fearing rebel attacks, my sister knew we couldn't stay at our house any longer. With trembling hands, she planned our escape to our elder brother's house, just a quarter-mile from the executive mansion's fence. The executive mansion is where the president resides. We packed suitcases and essential supplies into the car under the cover of darkness, our hearts pounding with every sound outside. The government-imposed curfew of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. meant we had to wait until dawn. SE. Every tick of the clock felt like a drumbeat, echoing our anxiety. As dawn broke, we got into the car, praying for a safe journey. But just as she was about to pull out of the driveway, I revealed my decision to stay. "Why?" she asked, surprised. Pause. "I want to ensure a family member can stop by easily," I explained, "and also keep the house secure from potential burglars." She hesitated, then relented. Embracing me tightly, she bid farewell before departing with the kids toward town, even as fear loomed large. I didn't realize how much I'd miss my family until they left. The first night alone was uneventful, but the next morning, my nephew Nuke, 3 years my senior, arrived with a friend, Wilfred. They looked terrified, as if fleeing from something fearsome. Before I could ask what was wrong, Nuke informed me they were escaping the rebels. They lived in the Tulsa Field community, about 4 miles away. I invited them to rest and offered food and drink. As they ate, they shared their harrowing experiences during the NPFL rebels' takeover. Homes were being ransacked, and suspected Kron, Mandingo, or military households were targeted for execution. Wilfred did most of the talking, leaving his food untouched. When I encouraged him to eat, he said, "Little brother, I didn't come here to eat or drink. I came to warn you and ask you to join us." When I inquired where, he said the Barclay Training Center, BTC. I was perplexed. Why would they consider the BTC, a military barracks, a safe haven? For months, Charles Taylor's NPFL rebels had vowed to capture the seat of government, the executive mansion. The BTC was home to the very forces opposing Taylor's goals. I tried to dissuade them, citing the risks, but they were resolute. Considering the circumstances, I suggested Kalwele Township or Tubmanburg as the safer alternatives. Previously, both gentlemen had been adamant that the Barclay Training Center, BTC, was the most secure location in Liberia at the time, particularly for individuals targeted by the rebels. My suggestion was met with resistance, and we ultimately settled on the Barclay Training Center, BTC, as our destination, with plans to set out at first light. Our small group consisted of myself, Nuke, Wilfred, and a fraternal twin pair from next door, who had overheard our conversation and chosen to escape with us. As we navigated the abandoned community streets, approaching the New Georgia Estate Junction onto the Somalia Drive, which is the main highway leading into the city, an eerie silence enveloped us. Suddenly, a fierce gun battle erupted between the remnants of the Armed Forces of Liberia, AFL, loyal to President Doe, and Charles Taylor's National Patriotic Front of Liberia, NPFL, rebels. Dodged bullets, desperate to escape the chaos. With no alternative, we ventured into the treacherous mangrove swamp, teeming with alligators, venomous snakes, and other dangers. Alongside about 35 fellow fleeing individuals, we trekked through the swamp for an hour, circumventing the battle zone. Snakes and other creatures attacked some in our group, but in the panic, there was no time to tend to strangers when we couldn't even account for our own friends. After navigating the treacherous swamp for an hour, we emerged onto Somalia Drive, near the Iron Factory Topo Village area. Nuke and I frantically scanned the crowd for our team members. We quickly spotted Wilfred and Weldell, but Franklin, the female twin, was nowhere to be found. Despite our desperation, we had to press on as the crowd surged forward. With heavy hearts, we consoled Weldell, who was crying uncontrollably, and continued toward town in somber silence. However, our respite was short-lived. As we approached the Stockton Creek Bridge, the sudden yelling and crackling of gunfire shattered the air. The Prince Johnson-led INPFL rebel faction had set up a checkpoint, funneling over 2,000 fleeing individuals into a single line for screening. Krons, Mandingos, and civil servants were being targeted. I instinctively knew I had to conceal my identity. As a Kron, my name, Dway Carla, would be a death sentence. So, I adopted a new name, Lawrence Jackson. When questioned by the rebel in charge, I confidently replied, Lawrence Jackson. My teammates' confused expressions were telling, but my quick thinking might have just saved my life. After clearing the checkpoint, our team encountered another crossfire at the Somalia Drive United Nations Drive intersection, near the free port of Monrovia. The AFL soldiers and Prince Johnson's INPFL clashed, forcing us to retreat to the Stockton Creek Bridge. Upon arrival, tensions escalated as another battle loomed between the INPFL and either the AFL or NPFL. We were ordered to leave the main road, move to the sides, and take cover amidst the chaos. Bombs, RPGs, heavy artillery, and small arms fire, Weldell suggested we escape via the Jamaica Road bypass. Earlier, access had been restricted, but with rebels now focused on survival, our chance arrived. We seized the opportunity, joining others who had also found refuge in this route.